Hello, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the United Stand. This is your reaction to Manchester United's friendly loss to Cadiz in Spain, 4-2. Two very different teams, first team-ish in the first half and then the youth team in the second half. And look, first things first, I'm looking at this game in relation to individual performances, specifically to the first half. When you look at that side in the first half, you can see that there's probably one first-team player in it. Anthony Martial, potentially Garnacho, but he's still a developmental first-team player. Then the rest of those players are either players that are up for sale, who might have a second chance. Brandon Williams, Axel Tuanzebe, maybe even Donny van de Beek. And then players that are backup players like Scott McTominay and Victor Lindelof. And then a couple of young players like Iqbal, who maybe could be a useful player. And then I'd say Mengi and Alanga that really probably aren't going to have a future, but are still young players. So a mix. And then the second half, it's just youth. So look, if anybody's going, that's a disgrace to lose that game, football's not for you. I mean, you've completely misread the script. That was a game of football where he played two halves with two different teams. You're not meant to assess the results because there's no points or anything. You're meant to assess the individuals. That's what you're meant to do. And the second half team, which was the youth team, had far more cohesion and chemistry than the first half team. But obviously it's a youth team in the second half and they sort of ran out of gas. But I look at it individually and player ratings, we're going to mark every player out of 10, 6 being the average. I think that's going to be the best part of the show. Make sure you click in the link in the video description and do yours before I start doing mine, because they all get aggregated and you compare yours to mine. But look, I think that there's a few things that sort of jumped out at me. One, brilliant to have brilliant smile on my face to watch Manchester United play football. It's been so long, and I know it's not really Manchester United, but to sit and watch United play football for 90 minutes was just brilliant. And just reminded me of we're getting closer and closer to the real Man United playing games again, which I desperately want. The Premier League, Carabao Cup, anything back that's Manchester United. So yeah, really looking forward to that, and I enjoyed that, and I'll enjoy the game on Saturday night as well. But there was a skill gap there. Cadiz are third from bottom or second from bottom in the La Liga. They lost 2-1 to Real Madrid a few weeks ago, and they're better than that team that we put out. I don't know what you could call that team. The second half, it was a youth team. The first half, it was a bit of a mismatch of a team. I thought Dubravka was crap, by the way. Dubravka, or whatever you want to call it, he was rubbish. He's waited patiently for his chances, and I don't think he looked very good at all. As an experienced goalkeeper, I expected a little bit more, and I don't think he played particularly well. I thought the fullbacks were dreadful, Wan-Bissaka and Brandon Williams. Now, you could put that down to the fact that they both know they're for sale. You could put it down to the fact they haven't played for 5 months. You could put it down to the fact that they're simply not good enough, but they didn't grab any opportunity, and whatever the excuse is, I would hope that they would improve at the weekend, because if we're going to use them against Burnley, they are weak spots. Brandon Williams is still very aggressive, gives up a lot of free kicks, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka just... I think it's because he knows he's for sale, maybe he's rusty, maybe he knows he's not wanted. I don't know, but they didn't look particularly good. I thought Mengi and Lindelof did okay. McTominay looked rusty, surprisingly. He normally plays better than that. Zidane Iqbal was very impressive, considering he's not anywhere near the first team at the moment, and he's a young player. I thought he was very impressive. Donny van de Beek just doesn't work in that position. I know that that's his position for Ajax under Ten Hag, and that's the position that Eric Ten Hag thinks that works. But you know what? I think that I prefer Donny van de Beek in a deeper position. Every time I see him playing, and he played those 3 games, didn't he, in a row before the World Cup break, and he played in this same position, it just doesn't work. I don't know what they're trying to replicate from Ajax, but that was the Eredivisie. Whatever Ten Hag and Donny are trying to recreate, it doesn't work. It's just not working in a Man United shirt. This playing off the striker as a false striker and making clever runs, it doesn't work. It makes you down to 10 men. That number 10 in the Premier League has to work hard, has to be physical, has to be on the ball more. And he's running around making runs, playing little layoffs. It's just not working. And I like Donny van de Beek, but that number 10 role is just not working. And I'm actually at the point now, and I know it's only a pre-season game, but he should be playing well in that. He should be playing well in that game. Scott McTominay should be playing well in that game. Brandon Williams and Wan-Bissaka, if they want a future, they've got to be playing well. Alanga's got to be playing well. I don't care about the result, but you're still playing for Man United whilst most of the team is away. You've got to be 10 out of 10 today. If you want to force your way into that manager's plans, you can't just be, well, I'm rusty, you've got to force your way into it. And Donny just didn't show anything again. And I think he's better deeper, but obviously I don't think he's going to get played there. Iqbal played there instead. Alanga is the same as always. There's lots of endeavour, there's lots of pace, but there's not a lot of anything else. I think he's been over-promoted because he's had to be. We haven't got anybody else. We're short up front. But he needs to go on loan. His development is being stunted by being overused and over-promoted. Martial was quiet, and I thought Garnacho was lively. Hi Mark, just want to say that I used to despise you, really. Now I think you're great, so keep up the good work. Thanks for that, T-Man. Thanks very much for the super chat. Appreciate that. If I can change and you can change, everyone can change. Dylan says United need a better second choice keeper. Martin Dubravka was horrendous. Why did United sign him? So Dylan, it might just be one game, but he wasn't particularly good today. And then on the second half, I will not hear any criticism of the second half because they're young. They're a young side. They're a youth side playing against an experienced side. You're not meant to see anything other than a loss. And actually, they lost the second half 2-1. Did they? 2-1? They lost the second half 2-1? Yeah, we lost both halves 2-1, 4-2. So they replicated what the first team did. So I think they should be very proud of themselves in the second half. I thought Maino and Savage had the hardest job in the world because they're playing centre midfield against an experienced side. Charlie McNeil wasn't in the game. Shoretire was okay. I thought the fullbacks did quite well, Gerardo and Murray. And the centre-backs, it was very difficult. You are young players playing against experienced players. I think the hardest position to play as a youth side against an experienced men's side is centre-back and centre-mid because it's physical, you're constantly running. So I thought they did reasonably well. What do people expect? Imagine if that youth side had come out and won 4-1 in the second half. People would be going, oh my God, what's this team? It's not going to happen. So I don't take a lot of notice on the second half because it is what it is. But the first half, I think there's a lot of disappointment and there's a couple of sparks of excitement. Iqbal and Garnacho again. But the rest of them are sort of let themselves down a little bit, especially the senior pros, the Donnies, the McTominays, the fullbacks. I'm not saying they played badly. I'm not saying that. I don't want to see anybody saying they're shit, get out of my club. You're completely missing the script. But what I am disappointed about is that that's an opportunity in front of Erik ten Hag against the team that gave you a good game. Whatever you're doing in fucking training won't matter to Ten Hag. He will want to see you do it in a game. And that's a game with 10, 20,000 people watching against a strong Cadiz side. And you should be able to go against that. Some of you played for Ajax, some of you played for Crystal Palace, Norwich. Some of you are internationals. You should not be being overshadowed by a team that's also not played games for 3 or 4 weeks. I can't imagine taking a friendly so seriously, but a good friendly to get a real look at players and youth and prepare the next steps for them, says LJ. Yes, I think you've just got to judge the players as individuals and got to look at where they are on the journey. Now, you could flip it around. You could easily say, well, Wan-Bissaka, Brandon Williams, they haven't played for 5 months. So for them, the performance is not really as important as the fitness on their road to recovery. So you could ignore the bad performances with them. But I think that's why you've got to look at it individually. How did they do individually? Lindelof wasn't great. Maybe he's a bit rusty. So maybe we're just not ready at the moment. Maybe we're just not ready, some of these players. It's been a break and they weren't ready. Maybe that's what it's all about. Anyway, let's do the player ratings because I think that's what many of you are waiting for. So mark every player out of 10, 6 being the average. Let's go. So for me, I'm not going to be too harsh, but Dubravka was a 5 for me. You've given him a 4.1. Look, goalkeeping isn't really about match sharpness. Goalkeeping is about angles, how you position yourself, dexterity, whatever you want to call it. And he just didn't look. He looked rusty. And for what? Why? I don't get it. I don't think he commanded his box. He didn't look confident. Didn't really make any saves. I don't think he had a good game. I think you've just got to accept that. Wan-Bissaka would give him a 5 as well. I think some people have been a bit harsh here. It is a pre-season game. and it's not the end of the world that we lost. Is Aaron Wan-Bissaka going to have a future at Manchester United? No, he's for sale. He's been for sale for 6 months. He's not going to be the answer. Even in that half where he looked rusty, I said it. The way that Aaron Wan-Bissaka runs is too casual for Erik ten Hag. Now, he's not casual because he's being casual. People used to say it about Paul Pogba. People say it about lots of other players in the way that they run. But the way that Aaron Wan-Bissaka attacks is just too... The style is just too relaxed. And he wants intense. He wants players who can sharp turn and this, that and the other. And Wan-Bissaka's never going to be that. He's a good defensive right back. He's never going to be an inverted attacking right back. And he's not going to have a future at Manchester United. I still think he'd be a very, very good right back for a Crystal Palace or a West Ham. But he's not going to be a Ten Hag right back. And we know that. And maybe he knows that. And maybe that's why in his head it's just, I'm just playing because nobody else will. It's high level sport. And when you're not wanted, it can be difficult. I'll pull that down a bit because that picture is going to drag somebody else's attention. Victor Lindelof this half, probably give him a 6 for Lindelof. If I've given Wan-Bissaka a 5, I've got to give him a 6. Average from Lindelof. At the end of the day, he's got a youngster next to him. He's got Wan-Bissaka at right back, Brandon Williams at left back. I thought he was the only one who looked anywhere near capable of, and a goalkeeper that didn't play well behind him. So you're a bit of a lamb to the slaughter in that sense. But I don't think Lindelof was bad. I thought he was okay considering, what was going on around him. Mengi, probably give him a 5.5. Just a little bit below Lindelof. I mean, again, a player that I hadn't forgotten we had him. I didn't know what we were doing with him. I thought he might have still been on loan. I mean, he's not been anywhere near the first team. He wasn't involved in the pre-season either. But he did okay. Nothing more than that for me. You could knock one off all these scores. I might be being a bit generous compared to some people, but I also think some people have being a bit harsh. It's a friendly, and it's our first game in a few weeks as well. Brandon Williams, I'd give the same as Wan-Bissaka. I'd give him a 5. Look, he hasn't played football for 4 or 5 months. He's had an injury, whatever that injury was. He's not going to be match sharp. The thing I would say about Brandon Williams that I didn't like, he's too aggressive. There's nothing wrong with being aggressive, but you've got to be clever aggressive in the modern game. You can't be Roy Keane or Paul Ince in the modern game, like just clattering people, because you'll give fouls away. And we all like a bit of passion and we all like a bit of fire, and we see it with McTominay, but we also see a lot of yellow cards for McTominay. We also see a lot of silly free kicks from McTominay. And in the modern game, you can't just be, I'm going to start pushing people and kicking people, because you'll get booked and you'll give free kicks away. And I think Brandon Williams is just a little bit over-eager, and he was before. And I think he just needs to chill that down, because sometimes he plays a good pass. Sometimes he shows signs that he can play in the Premier League. But I think he needs to curb the aggression, because he gives off those vibes of aggression way too much. And I think that will hinder him from making what he can do of his career. But yeah, he was a bit rusty today. And hopefully, certainly him and Wan-Bissaka didn't make Ten Hag think for 1 second, I might use you and not sell you. I think they're both still up for sale as things stand. McTominay, I would also give a 5. I thought that there wasn't a lot of excuse for McTominay. He's not been out injured for 5 months. He's the captain of the team. He was sluggish. Now, the only excuse actually is the fact that he hasn't played for a few weeks. Maybe he's been on holiday, etc. But I expected, being given the captaincy and knowing that he's going to play against Burnley, that I expected a little bit more from McTominay, but he just couldn't get hold of that midfield, which is odd because obviously the guy who played next to him, Zidane Iqbal, I would give him a steady 6, and I'd agree with you on that one. I don't think he set the world on fire, but I think for a young player to come out with a 6, which is average, is good in a team that performed below average, didn't it? So Iqbal played a lot better than McTominay, and there's a massive amount of difference change there. But I like Zidane Iqbal. I think he's got the physical stature already to be able to mix it up at this level, and I'd be certainly looking to loan him out in January, because I think there's levels for him to go through. Who else have we got? Yeah, well, Donny van der Beek for me was a low 5. Just couldn't get in the game. Should be able to get in a game like that. should be able to, probably the most important player on the pitch who needs to show what he's all about. He needs to show the fans, the manager, what he's all about, and he just cannot he cannot get the grip of a game at the moment, and it's weird. I mean, has he mentally checked out? Maybe he thinks he's leaving. Maybe he wants to leave. I don't know. Maybe he's always wanted to leave. He's wanted to leave in the past. Maybe he still wants to leave. I don't know what the story is with Donny, but again, a little bit like Wan-Bissaka, it just doesn't look like it's working, and it's a shame because I like Donny van der Beek, and it doesn't look like it's going to click, does it? It still could, but it doesn't look like it. Again, Elanga for me would be a 5 as well. You know, slightly below average, to be honest with you. Look, Elanga's very consistent. He works hard, he's quick, but he also runs into trouble a lot. Doesn't really create anything. Doesn't look like he's going to do anything. And again, he's crying out for a loan in the Championship. Yeah, definitely. Garnacho, I'd give him a 6. I actually thought he was lively when he got the ball. And would be one of the 2 players on the pitch in the first half that actually I thought did reasonably well. And again, it's a young player. Garnacho and Iqbal are the youngest players on the pitch, and they were the 2 best for me. You know, whenever Garnacho gets the ball, you get excited in relation to, you know, what he's going to do with it. And he does hold on to it a little bit too often, but, you know, he's obviously a player with real big self-belief, and we've seen that before with Ronaldo and Rooney and young players who just don't sometimes want to pass, and you know they should. Anthony Martial, probably a 5 for me. I know he got the goal. 5.5, sorry, Lindelof, same as Lindelof, 5.5. Wasn't enough around him, was dropping deep, which I don't like to see. I don't like Ronaldo doing that. Didn't like Ronaldo doing that. Didn't like Martial doing it. He was dropping all over the place. I think that was a senior player trying to get involved, and we saw Ronaldo doing this. I'm the senior player, nothing's going on. Starts dropping deep to try and make things happen. But he wasn't bad, Martial. I don't think he was bad. There wasn't a lot going on. He had that really good shot where he picked it up and spun and had a shot. So I think a 5.5 for Martial and Lindelof. And I think that's how that first team worked, actually. The first half team. A lot of 5s. There was a couple of performances from Lindelof and Martial that set them away from the 5.5s to 5.5. And then you had Garnacho and Iqbal on a 6 for me. And that was the story of the first half. Second half, I liked Gerardo. I'd give him a 6. Deschamps Bernard, probably give him a 6 as well. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not going to give any of them lower than a 6 because they're young. They're a youth team playing against the senior team, and you've got to take that into account. So, I mean, for me, I just think, you know, Tyler Fredrickson, Sam Murray, I liked the fullbacks. I did like the fullbacks. Charlie Savage, again, I liked what he did. It was hard work in there. I like what he did. I'd probably give Mainu a 7 because he got the goal and, you know, reward him with that, and he took it well. But he also played centre mid, and I thought Charlie Savage and Mainu did a lot of work, and it's hard. It's really hard as a youth player to go up against senior pros and play centre mid for 45 minutes. But I'm not going to knock it. I'm not going to knock it. Look, average is 6. I'm not going to knock them down. I did like Emerin. I thought for the first 10 minutes he looked really good, and then he fell away a bit. Shoretire as well. There was glimpses from him. And look, Charlie McNeil didn't do particularly well, but you think I'm going to start giving any of these youth players below average? Never in a million years. They're over there. They're doing a job for us in a Man United shirt as a youth team against a senior team. I will not be the person who starts giving them below average. I'm not going to knock their careers. I'm not going to knock their confidence. And I don't think they deserve it to be either. They went out there, and for the first 10 minutes, they got back into the game. They played with chemistry. They played with confidence because they know each other. And then the senior team started to get the better of them because they're senior pros and this is a youth team. I'm not going to give them below average. I'm not even going to compare them to the first half, because the first half we should have been getting a lot better. And if I'm giving Brandon Williams a 5 and Aaron Wan-Bissaka a 5, then I'm not going to give any of the youth team 5s because they're young lads, you know, playing against a senior team, and fair play to them. So 6 is all around for me, apart from Mainu. My man of the match is probably, yeah, you know what? I am going to give it to him. I mean, look, there isn't really a man of the match, but, you know, I thought the second half team were better than the first half team. and the person who scored in the second half was Mainu, so I'm going to give it to him. In relation to Erik ten Hag, it doesn't matter. 6. It doesn't matter. What's he supposed to do? What is he supposed to do? I think he did the right things that he wanted to do, and he will assess that game like we did. Simple as that. On individual performances. Zidane Iqbal got man of the match. Interesting. Kobbie Mainoo was second with 21%, and then it was shared out between quite a few others. But Zidane Iqbal got your man of the match, which I can't argue with. So smash a like on the video for that. I thought he was. He did have a good game, and he was a player that I was very pleased with in it. So well done to him. Anyway, look, that was only meant to be 10 minutes. We ended up talking for 20. God, no wonder we talk for 40 when it's the first team. I'll be back in the morning with the news show. Probably be talking about Gakpo. There has been some quotes from him, but I think there's some other stuff coming out in the morning, apparently. So we'll be talking about that at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning on the United Stand. Make sure you subscribe, by the way, bottom right-hand corner. And don't forget...
Who scored Manchester United's last goal of last season, and it would have been the third goal against Brentford at home in a 3-0 win?
Oh, God.
That's a tricky one.
You can watch the full quiz if you are a member. It's out today. The United Stand Members Quiz, interactive, first to 5. You can play against us on that. If you are a member, check it out on the members page. Go and watch it now. A bit of an evening entertainment. If you're not a member, click the join button and you can watch it as well. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care, and we'll speak to you tomorrow.